yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, you know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Hey man, we are back, man. Filling in. Doc and Charles did an amazing job this morning, man. A lot of people coming in, but what we have now, man, we got the X's and O's with BJ Jones and Joshua Sims.
Absolutely, man. Well, for everybody, man, this is your first time getting an opportunity to see us, we take a different approach. Taking really from a coaching perspective, and guys who play the game, guys who coach the game, and who understand the X's and O's of the game, man. And so we take an opportunity on our show to be able to really kind of break down the small nuances of football and what you can expect and see inside of a game on a pre-scale perspective. And then after the game, we break it down so you can be able to see what happened in the game and what transpired from what we already kind of saw on the film, and then see how that comes out in the game. Would you say, B?
Yeah, and hey, we ain't two old stuffy coaches either. We're gonna have fun with it. And we're definitely going to have fun with it. Yeah. But, hey, man, this is the debut here at the Celebration Bowl, man.
World premiere, dog.
Hey, we're excited.
Absolutely, man. So, obviously, man, this is the big game weekend, championship weekend. We have the opportunity really to display and really kind of premiere this show during championship weekend. And we are intentional about calling it championship weekend.
Yeah.
We really see it as an opportunity for the two best teams in HBCU, and they're going for the Black National Championship. And so, B, just kind of some starting thoughts, my brother. What do you think so far, just at the beginning part of this? Where do you see this game? What's the importance of this game, and kind of what does it mean to you? What does it represent to you?
Oh man, it's black excellence. When you start talking about the SWAC and the MEAC and the work that both commissioners are doing to not only increase the brand recognition of the conference, but the schools themselves.
Absolutely.
And to see the celebrities kind of walking around here, and the who's who of HBCU football and media.
Absolutely.
It puts a smile on your face, man, to let people know that, man, this is something that's important, not just to us, but outside of just our realm, and it's a beautiful thing. And to have what we have, Jackson State with what they've been able to do, and Jackson State what they've been able to do, North Carolina Central what they've been able to do this year. To have these two teams here, man, I think we're in for a hell of a football.
Absolutely, man, to say the least. I think it sets a precedent, too. I think, honestly, we finally have an opportunity now where we can really display this game to the masses, man, to the world, man. Today is an opportunity for us to be able to kind of really premiere, our prowess as it pertains to the game. But this weekend is about, showing the prowess that is HBCU football and the overall kind of greater purpose and value of it. So, great points. I'm to kind of ditto that, right? HBCU athletics is just as much a part of our families as our families themselves.
Yeah.
This game has been around for a long time. Our version of this game has been around for a very long time. I like to say this thing of ours.
Yeah.
And so when we get to this point where it's the culmination of a great weekend of what we say is our championship game, we really get a chance to kind of take it to the next level. And so it's kind of fitting that we're premiering the X's and O's in a weekend where this is the culmination, man. This is we can't call it the granddaddy of them all yet, but this is the coup de grace, man. This is the pinnacle of our sport, and we absolutely get a chance to kind of dive into it. So let's go into it, bro. Let's go ahead and get into it.
We are missing a third, man.
We are. Man.
We got our own Molly Crew.
I struggle with that. I don't even try.
Man, we got our own moderator, man. You guys will like her. She does an outstanding job. Shout out to Erica Rochelle representing Howard University.
Absolutely. And you guys will get a chance to see Erica live in living color when we premiere this show.
Yeah.
As we continue to keep going. This is our world premiere, man. We're introducing ourselves, and it's an opportunity for us to be able to do so. But once we premiere this thing with Erica, you guys get a chance to see, man, this is going to be probably one of the best shows, bar none, no matter what the sports
The
type.
realest, trillest show in sports and guy talk.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you. Shout out to the 2 live students.
Absolutely, man. So let's get to it, B. We can start on the number 2 team in the country, North Carolina Central Eagles, coming from Durham, finished 9-2 this season, won the MEAC. Obviously there was a whole catastrophe and a whole conversation about this co-champs thing, with Howard, but essentially they ended up winning the head-to-head, and so against Howard, and really kind of convincing fashion. What do you see so far? From watching the film, both of you and I have talked extensively about the film. What have you seen on the film that tells you that, hey, North Carolina Central, 1, deserves to be here, and then 2, what's something that you can see on the film that says, hey, man, this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with in this game?
North Carolina Central has done it about the traditional way that's untraditional in the way in which college football is going. When you look at this roster, there's a bunch of high school signees out of the state of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I'm ventured to say about 80% of this roster or more, about 85% of this roster is from the state of North Carolina.
Absolutely.
That's big.
Yeah, it is.
That's big. And Trey Oliver is doing it in his own way. A guy that I'm familiar with that was the defensive coordinator at Southern University.
He was, yeah.
And the way he's doing it, coming back to his alma mater, place that he played, and was an all-conference player there as a defensive back as well as a punter.
Absolutely, yeah.
Man, this football team, man, I love their tenacity. They're physical.
Yeah.
Davius Richard, I think, is going to have his coming out party on tomorrow. I think the world is going to know who Davius Richard is. I think everyone knows who Shedeur Sanders is.
Yeah.
This is going to be number 11 in maroon and gray. Kid special. We're talking about 6'3", over 220 pounds, one of the strongest players on that football team.
Absolutely.
These kids like to play football, and they like to do it. They don't need the spotlight. They don't need the smoke. They don't need the mirrors. They don't need any of these other things. They just get it done, and I'm excited to see this football team, and it seems like they take the mentality of Trey Oliver.
Absolutely. Teams take on the personality of their head coach. And North Carolina Central absolutely does that. But the same thing with Jackson State. They take on the personality of their current head coach, and that goes by the name of Dion, Coach Prime Sanders.
Yeah.
So, same question, man, as it pertains to Jackson State. What do you see on film? I mean, what do you see about this team in the same respect in which you kind of broke it down for North Carolina Central? What do you see in Jackson State as it pertains to this game that kind of stands out? What is it about this team that makes you say, wow, they absolutely deserve to be here, other than obviously 12-0? But what is it about that team that you say, hey, this team absolutely stands out, and there's some things that I'm looking forward to seeing for them on the field?
Man, it starts on the defensive end.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the number 1 defense in the country in the FCS.
Yeah.
Number 1 defense in the country, even when you add in the FBS schools as well.
Yeah.
They don't give up a lot of points. Southern in the SWAC championship game was a little bit of an anomaly.
Absolutely.
They fly to the football. They don't miss tackles.
Mm-hmm.
It starts there. You have some special players, Cameron Stillman Craig. At safety, to me, that's the MVP of that defense.
Absolutely.
Because his versatility.
Absolutely.
He can stop the run. He can pick off passes. He's solid. Aubrey Miller at linebacker. And then you have Niles Gaddy, who I think is probably the most improved player on that defense.
Most certainly.
He's always had the size, but now he's playing to the potential of what we kind of thought.
He's getting his big boy pants. He's filling into what we used to say. He's getting his grown man strength almost. Yeah, he is. It does seem like that for sure.
And that defense puts so much pressure on you because you feel like, hey man, I got to score. When you feel like when you're down 7, it feels like you're down 14.
It does. It does.
But one thing about them offensively that they have this year that they didn't have a year ago is a running game.
Savion Wilkerson, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Anything that you've seen, I know he's been able to kind of orchestrate that running game, but anything that you've seen here in the MEAC, we saw Savion as a freshman at Delaware State. Mm-hmm. Solid running back. I believe he was freshman of the year in the conference. Mm-hmm. Then he comes over to a Jackson State team that in a lot of ways people think that they have challenges up front. And this young brother finds a way to make plays. Early in the season, kind of struggled with being able to kind of understand, but what you would expect from a transfer coming in. I think he got in a little late, if I'm not mistaken. So you would expect him to kind of struggle a little bit, but as the season went along, this young brother started to have his way against defenses. Something in particular that you saw from Savion that kind of helps to enhance this offense, man. Anything that you would like to point out that Savion does is kind of like, yeah, we see why he was able to help this offense move.
The way that he runs the football, he gets a lot of his yards after contact.
Absolutely.
And if you think that you are going to just bump into Savion and that's going to be it, you're going to have to wrap this young man up to get him down on the ground. And a lot of people made that mistake with Savion early on in the season. And the thing is that I think that's going to be the battle is going to be how North Carolina Central lines up and stops that running game. Because if they can make Jackson State one-dimensional,
it's a ball game.
That is going to benefit North Carolina Central
Absolutely.
a lot because I think the strength of that football team is in the linebackers in the secondary.
For sure.
So I think once you do that, you can make them one-dimensional. Now you can do the second thing. That second key to victory is get to Shedeur Sanders and frustrate him.
Absolutely.
Shedeur Sanders knows this is it for him.
Absolutely.
At Jackson State.
Yeah.
He might check out early if you get to him enough and hit him hard enough to get him on the ground. Yeah. So
we've seen crazier things happen, especially in a championship game. We've seen players really kind of tap out. Not to say that we expected he'll tap out, but this game is still a old school version of the game that we've always loved. You punch a team in the mouth, no matter how prima donna, no matter how good they are. If you punch them in the mouth, you are waiting for an opportunity to see if they can respond. Great teams respond.
Yeah.
Good teams fold. And so in this game, you're absolutely right. The opportunity for North Carolina Central to kind of punch Jackson State in the mouth, not necessarily have to do anything special, change what they're doing, or kind of be this new and improved version of who they are, but be willing to be aggressive. South Carolina State kind of showed the model last year, is if you punch a team in the mouth, will they respond? And fortunately for Jackson State this season, I believe that they learned from the game last year against South Carolina State in the championship game last year. And I think this is a different team.
Yeah.
But only time will tell if, when you get punched in the mouth, specifically in a championship game, can you respond?
And the biggest thing is what South Carolina State did a year ago, which was the kind of the blueprint. They didn't just punch one time. They kept punching.
They did.
And being on the sideline of that game last year and watching it, Jackson State, when we got about midway through the third quarter, they were done.
Yeah. Checked
That
out.
football team, they quit.
They checked out. Yeah.
There were some guys on that side of the ball, especially on that defensive side of the ball, where you saw the fullbacks and the tight ends getting into the grill of Aubrey Miller, getting into the grill of James Houston.
Absolutely.
We talked about this. When Aubrey Miller came to the sideline and he was spitting blood.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of them, like, I'm ready for this to be over.
Yeah.
And one thing that South Carolina State did, they didn't just punch and watch and see what happened. They just kept punching. Like I said, by the time we got to the third quarter, Jackson State was looking at the refs like, you going to tell them to stop punching?
There's a difference. You remember when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you might see a fight from a little kid, and he might have his head down. He just That's what South Carolina State did there last year.
And they were all landing.
It was all of the punches were landing, and a lot of it was because Jackson State was kind of coming in a straight line with them.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was because of the expectation, because of how good they were last year, because of how good they are this year.
Yeah.
That the expectation was that we can kind of overman and we can kind of out-prowess this team. We can really be the dominating factor in this game, and that served to be a kind of false narrative and a false kind of approach to the game. One of the things that I do expect from this, though, is that Jackson State, and credit to Coach Prime, right, in that program, they have a keen ability to be able to make adjustments year over year.
Yeah.
Coach Prime is showing you, what I learned from last year, I can absolutely kind of apply to this year.
Yeah.
What my mistakes I made last year, you won't catch me making those same mistakes 2 years in a row.
Right.
Will North Carolina Central be able to take advantage of every team has mistakes, every team has flaws? Will North Carolina Central be able to take advantage of the flaws that Jackson State shows? That's a question that everybody has. We all can see them. If you know the game of football and you've kind of studied the game and you've watched the film, you see where the flaws are. And one of those flaws in particular is that offensive line. Can North Carolina Central, to your point earlier, can that defensive line, can that linebacking core really take advantage of what that is? It's a flaw. Every team has them. Can North Carolina Central take advantage of that flaw, B?
The biggest thing about that flaw, when you look at it, particularly when you look at the film, is that there have been several teams during the year that have been able to take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
The equalizer has been Shedeur Sanders. His ability to be able to escape pressure, get outside, he has been the deodorant that covered up a lot of stink.
Absolutely.
Which is that offensive line.
Yeah.
You've seen people get to him, and he gets out of it. So when you get to 2, you have to wrap him up and get him on the ground. That's going to be the major difference. And if North Carolina Central is able to do that, then that's going to bode well for the Eagles. And then another thing, Jackson State struggles when we talk about stopping the run. We start looking at counter trays, those power leads. They struggle with those a little bit. You saw Alcorn be able to hit them with it. You saw Southern be able to do it from the quarterback position in the championship game. So I'm going to be interested to see. I know that's in North Carolina Central's arsenal. And you have the best quarterback that Jackson State has seen all year, and Davius Richard back there. I think that's going to be very interesting. And then can North Carolina Central win those battles on the outside?
Man, that is going to be huge. You just touched on something that is really a big part of what we should be looking for tomorrow. Can North Carolina Central take advantage of the spots where they have some opportunities? Everybody that we've seen 4 games in particular this year, I would say, where we saw a team punch them, and maybe the offense of that team may not have been to the attributive level where they needed to be able to continue to keep, as I say, you punch them, and then your offense is able to come back with a hook, or you're able to come back with another hook. Offenses have to have the ability, when your defense punches and stuns somebody, your offense has got to come in and kind of deliver that hook. Davius Richard is, in my opinion, the most dynamic dual-threat quarterback in the country. His ability to be able to throw and run, throw on the run, throw away from his strong side, really, and take advantage of whatever a defense gives him, makes him the most dynamic dual-threat quarterback in the country. What are your thoughts about this young brother, man? How has he played this year? And then we'll move straight to Shedeur, which both of us have an affinity and love for Shedeur and how he thinks inside of his brain and what's in between his eyes and his arm talent. But starting with Davius Richard, what do you see so far in Davius Richard? What have you seen in this kid that makes you say, wow, this kid is really the real deal?
He's a football player.
Absolutely.
I know that when you look at it, the position says quarterback, but he's a football player. The way that he runs the ball, because of his size and his strength, you don't see this much with the quarterback position. But guys are making career decisions. About the third quarter when they're talking about, hey, do I really want to tackle this guy?
6'3", 220, man.
Yeah, and he's coming at you.
Absolutely.
And he's strong. Like that's when Trey Oliver talked about, how much he squats and he lifts with linemen. That's
it's impressive.
You know what I mean? I mean, give him a plaid shirt and call him, John Henry at this point.
Absolutely.
But his ability can also be his fault.
Absolutely.
Because he has a strong arm and he's accurate, he can make some throws that a lot of quarterbacks at the collegiate level aren't able to make, particularly when you start talking about the FCS level, but that also got him into trouble. That interception against South Carolina State.
Got him in trouble.
There was a few interceptions against South Carolina State where I understand what you saw, but you can't make that.
Don't make that throw. Not in that situation. No.
And you wonder, when in this particular game with this type of pressure, will he be pressed to make that mistake again, or has he learned from his mistakes?
A quarterback's ability to be able to make adjustments and change and grow from their ability to make mistakes is probably the highlighting point about this next young brother we're going to talk about, Shedeur Sanders. He makes very few mistakes, and when he does make a mistake, he very rarely, if ever, makes the same mistake twice. Talk about this young man and his ability to be able to make plays, throw the ball into spots, make every throw that we believe is a pro-style throw. And where he's gotten better is his ability to be able to make throws down the field. And obviously given to what we believe is a really good receiving core. Same thing at North Carolina Central. What have you seen from Shedeur that tells you that, year over year from last year to this year, this kid is taking steps forward?
Shedeur Sanders is one of those kids, man. His accuracy. He is deadly accurate with those short passes.
Dangerously accurate.
I'm talking about dangerously accurate. Now, what he struggles with is with the deep ball.
He does.
He struggles with the deep ball. But Shedeur Sanders, a lot of quarterbacks, man, they want to be the superstar. They're the guy. If Shedeur Sanders needs to complete a 2-yard pass to move the sticks, that's what he's going to do.
Yep.
He takes exactly what you give him, and his understanding of defenses and how the game moves and flows, he does that at a level that most kids don't do at the college level, which is impressive. And you can tell that he's been schooled and he's been trained by some of the best. And you see it week in and week out.
Yeah.
And it's also his toughness.
Yeah.
He's taking some shots this year. And you see him get back up. He dusts himself off. And then when you think you got him, he makes a move, and he's out of the pocket. And now that sack that looked like it was going to be a turnover on downs, we're getting ready to punt the ball, he'll scramble for 11 yards and get down.
That is, like, for me, that's the part where I've seen this young brother, really kind of get better. His ability to kind of tuck the ball and go, tuck the ball and run, know in certain situations when he needs to do so, has made him a much better overall quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Any game in particular this season that you can point out to, for those who are watching the show, that you can go back and kind of watch the film, any game in particular that you can say, hey, this is a game where you need to go look back and see where Shedeur was at his best?
Alcorn State was one of those ball games where he needed. Alabama State was one. That last drive against Alabama State where Alabama State took that momentum.
Yeah.
It's like I felt like he converted like 3 or 4 third downs.
Absolutely.
And I was like 3 or 4, it's like 3 third downs, like 2 fourth downs. And got him in position, to close it out.
Good gracious.
Every time he got there, man, it was like, okay, this is a 3rd and 4. I'll scramble and get you 5. I'll throw a pass to get you 6 if we need 5. Like he did whatever that was needed, to get it done. And I was just impressed with that young man and his ability to be able to do it week over week, and also that Tennessee State game.
Man, I was just about to say that. That game showed me that Shedeur, very similarly, has a little bit of dog in him.
Yeah.
The same type of dog his dad had when he played. Like, this kid just we very rarely see this kid get rattled. We very rarely see this kid get shaken up. He's fairly even keel, sometimes to a fault. Sometimes in moments where he does need to kind of give a little bit more oomph, he may not give it, but to his credit, it works for him. And so even the same thing with Davius Richard. I think Davius, to the same token, is a kid that is just not easily rattled, not easily shaken. He stays even keel no matter the situation. He always believes that he has an opportunity to kind of win the game. Any game in particular you saw from Davius Richard that says this kid is the real deal?
Oh, man. North Carolina A&T to open up the season. That was one of those games. I want to say also that Howard game would look like Howard was trying to creep back into it.
Yeah.
He and that offense kind of put their feet down to the floor and got them out of there. And then that last game against Tennessee Tech.
Yeah.
You remember that drive?
Absolutely.
I mean, those were the games for me with Davius Richard, and that kind of showed, man, this is where it is and this is going to be. Both of them have had plays. Shedeur's play was Tennessee State.
Yep.
Jack State was backed up. I think he took this snap from almost the end zone.
Oh, my God.
Tennessee State 4-2-5. Yeah. You have the stunt on the outside. Defense end goes out. Outside linebacker comes in, has a straight shot on Shedeur. If he hits him, he might kill him. Because he was going. And he just slides a little bit to the left. He makes contact. He just bumps and he sets up, and he makes a hell of a throw to Dallas Daniel.
I mean, just both of these quarterbacks, man, I don't think that we've seen a national championship game, a championship game of this caliber, where both quarterbacks are dynamic in what they do.
Yeah.
Both coaches are dynamic at what they do. Both staffs are dynamic at what they do. Both defenses are essentially dynamic at what they do. Key factors that pull this game, and do you see this game possibly being able to open up? We've all, everybody that we've talked to, and even in our own rights, we've called this game a close game. Any particular part where you see this game ends up opening up?
I think that when you deal with championship games, man, it's sometimes when you deal with something that's unexpected, a turnover, an interception, particularly on the short field, do you keep that momentum that that enthusiasm that you had, or you kind of hang your head. And this is one of those games where if you hang your head, I've seen Jackson State rack up 21 points quick because you've hung your head and felt sorry for yourself.
Absolutely.
And North Carolina Central is capable of doing the same thing. I'm going to be looking at this. The first probably 8 to 10 minutes of this ball game is going to let me know where Jackson State is.
Absolutely.
Charles Bishop has always said that this Jackson State team is different. They've been dealing with distractions for the last 2 years. They're used to having cameras, follow them. They've done like 3 different documentaries.
Absolutely.
They were able to get through the SWAC championship game with everything out there about Deion Sanders and where he would be coaching next year and so forth. They've been able to kind of brush this thing off. But the difference between brushing all those things off is that now the situation at hand, and it impacts a lot of these kids, because you got a lot of kids thinking about, am I going into the portal, where I might be playing, where I might be playing ball a year from now, and so forth. So man, it's that's the challenge of this football team, because like I said, now this stuff involves them. So if they're able,
you can sit down, Coach, if you got a minute. Good to see you, baby.
If they're able to,
Coach Morris, running back coach from North Carolina Central.
Yeah, so if they're able to get through that and play the way that they've been able to play, you got to kind of like Jackson State. But if there's a little slippage there, North Carolina Central ain't the team that you want that slippage again.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal point. I mean, and honestly, from my perspective, I think that this game is much more evenly matched than the casual fan would be able to be willing to give it. I think all of the experts that we've talked to, all of the conversations we've heard from people, is that this game is going to come down to one possession. And that possession is going to be dictated by how both of these teams come out in the first quarter. I think I've never seen a game of this level of importance be dictated in the first quarter more than I think this game is going to be dictated in the first quarter. Which team comes out, which team is able to punch who in the mouth, who's able to respond, how often are you able to get first downs. North Carolina Central's 87% efficiency inside the red zone. We've seen some moments where Jackson State plays this bend but don't break defense, and it forces defenses or offenses to kind of take field goals. Now you're playing against a team that has the ability, once they get inside the 20, to punch it in. Barring some mistakes, we saw in the South Carolina State game, that North Carolina Central, threw interceptions in that game, threw interceptions inside the red zone in that game. But outside of that, barring no turnovers or penalties that'll take them out of a great position, this game is going to be fairly even.
Yeah. Special teams.
That's exactly where we were getting ready to go. Special teams is going to make a big impact in this game. We saw Jackson State have some chinks in the armor as it pertained to special teams. And North Carolina Central is a team that down the stretch show that they can take advantage if you make mistakes on special teams. High balls, muffed punts, messed up kicks, things of that sort. They will be very opportunistic. Do you see special teams ending up winning this game?
Very well could. Wow. When you have teams that are this closely matched up, it's that third of football that people like to forget about. That's special teams. Who can recover a muff punt? Who can get a big return? Which punter can flip the field? Man, playing special teams, playing field position in a game like this is key. Absolutely. And one of the ways you can flip the field is special teams, man, being able to punt the ball. And who makes that mistake and not feel that punt and let it bounce another 20, 15 yards?
Huge difference.
Stuff like that, it becomes key in games like this. And who gets into scoring position and misses field goals as opposed to making them.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. Thank you guys. This is the X's and O's. And once we come back, we'll have a special guest here with us to kind of talk some ball, talk a little bit, see if we can get Coach Morris from North Carolina Central to come over here and talk about that staple of backs. We'll be right back. We'll take a quick break, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio.
That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MYMAJESTEAS.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the X's and O's, man. BJ Jones and Joshua Sims Sr. So look, man, we in closing, we're gonna break down for a minute, go grab some lunch, and then come back. But in closing, man, any first half thoughts so far, man? We've broken this thing down pretty good. Let's kind of go with some closing thoughts, my brother. Starting with you, B.
if you're North Carolina Central, man, you got to remain true to yourself.
Absolutely.
Stick to the run.
Absolutely.
Stick to the run in the way that Alcorn did it, and being able to hit your spots. You're going to have some guys because Jackson State defensively plays that trail technique. You're going to get that. You might get one man over the top. You probably get a cover zero.
Yeah.
Win those one-on-one matchups, Davis Richard got to put the ball where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And if you get those, if you're Central, you want to go into the half within striking distance.
Absolutely.
Dead even, and if it's a plus if you go into the half with a lead.
Absolutely. And to that same point, man, if I'm North Carolina Central, and I am North Carolina Central. I'm a North Carolina Central grad, but remain focused. The goal is the goal. You do not have to do anything fancy or over the top or anything that's outside of your character to win this game. Be who you've been. Learn from the mistakes that you did make during the season and ensure them up by you being the team that you are. Allow for the defense to kind of lead this game, and then you allow for Davius Richard and that offense to kind of steer this game in the direction that it needs to go in. If you're Jackson State, BJ, what do you do in this game? I mean, there's a huge elephant in the room right now that they're just not focused.
Yeah.
And we talked about Prime's ability to learn from his mistakes year over year and not make the same mistake. This year feels similar to the same in that regard. What can they do, as we're kind of giving a first half wrap up to this, what can and what should they do to be able to make sure that they're able to kind of sustain themselves going into tomorrow's game?
Man, you got to be able to lock in at some point. And you've played this game and coached it just like I've played it and coached it.
Yep.
It ain't no instant lock in. You cannot turn it on and off, man.
It's not a switch.
It don't work like that.
Nope.
I thought it did as a player, didn't realize until I became a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And you on that other side, and you want to call your coaches and apologize.
Yeah.
For stuff that you did as a player.
I'm sorry, Coach. My bad.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't think it was like that.
He sitting there on the phone with you tomorrow. Man, that was 10 years ago. Now it's hitting me now, Coach. I got to get this off my chest.
Man, look, man. Terrence Graves, Coach Pete Richardson, man. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Absolutely.
But if you're Jackson State, man, what you have to do, man, is you got to be able to dictate the pace of the game.
Absolutely.
If you cannot dictate the pace of the game, and like I said, the first 8 to 10 minutes is going to be key to this ball game. Who's going to dictate their pace of play?
Absolutely.
And if the pace of play is dictated by North Carolina Central early, that favors North Carolina Central because, like I said, with Jackson State, with all of their distractions, it just had to do with their coach. These distractions now have to do with a lot of these young men and the decisions that they're going to be having to make within the next 4 days.
Yeah.
About their playing careers, and I'm sorry, that's a lot.
That's a lot, man.
On a young man, and
we're talking 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-old young brothers.
Yeah.
Who've got to make a life decision in 4 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And some of them already made a life decision.
Yeah. And some of them acting like they already.
Yeah, and some of them already acting like they already gone, man. So
absolutely.
Like I said, man, I'm going to be interested in seeing how the first 8 to 10 minutes of this ball game goes.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, this has been the first half of the X's and O's, man. This is our world premiere. We wanted to give an opportunity just to give a little sneak peek.
Tell them how we came up with the name X's and O's.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, we've talked about this a little bit, man. BJ and I both have a significant, I would say almost a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
In the fact that we both played this game all the way through college. We've both coached this game to a requisite level and at a high level. And we are now both in media and are able to give that perspective. So when we look at how we kind of break down and what we talk about from a media perspective, we're giving a perspective that most others cannot give.
Yeah.
When I put on this headset, it felt like I was back in the booth calling plays. With my play call sheet in front of me, man. It was incredible. The feeling that I got this, and media in this respect is one of the only places where I could be able to feel like I get the same feeling back. And so we've come up with the name the X's and O's because we believe that being able to give from a media perspective this game from an X's and O's perspective, we want to be able to break down the small nuances, talk about the small details of the game, help people to understand and get a somewhat of a viewpoint of what it looks like from a coach's perspective, what it looks like from a player's perspective, what happens in games, small and big situations, small and big games, what happens during the pre-part of the game, what happens in the preparation period of the game. What does the game feel like to a guy who's on the field, both from a player and a coach's perspective? These are all of the gamuts and just all of the directions and viewpoints and perspectives that you guys get a chance to gain simply by us being able to just give it to you guys. And so, that was why I say we came up with the name X and O's. What would you say, my brother?
I said, man, it's quite simple. Like I said, Josh, we both played, collegiately, myself at Southern University, Josh at North Carolina Central. Josh was a receiver. I was an outside linebacker. Josh is the offensive coordinator. I was the defensive coordinator. Hey, I'm the X guy. He's the O's guy. And us being able to hit this from a MEAC SWAC, perspective, from the offense,
that's another
defense
layer.
perspective.
I forgot that.
Yeah, man. So, man, to have a SWAC guy and a MEAC guy on the opposite side of the ball, man, we know what it's like to walk on that battlefield on Saturday.
Absolutely.
We played in some big games, man, between us, man. Aggie Eagle, Jack State Southern game, Bayou Classic. We played in some of the big ones, so we know exactly what these players are going through. Yep. And then, man, once we got through, being the headaches of players that we were. We understand what it's like to go through the week and prepare as a coach.
Absolutely.
And what goes into that. And that gives us a perspective that most will have, from a media standpoint.
Absolutely. Didn't take a break, man. Didn't take a break. I mean, literally for both of us, immediately went from playing the game to coaching the game. And it was a nonstop commitment to this game that I think both of us, singularly and both plurally, can say has given us a perspective that most others cannot give.
I'm 37 years old. I have been a part of this game for 31 of those 37 years, either as a player, as a coach, or in media.
Absolutely.
From a player standpoint, from the time I was 6 years old to the time that I was 26, 27.
Wow.
Stepped right into coaching at the age of 27, and been doing that up until last year, and been doing the media thing for the last. Well, it's been 5 years now. So, man, it's like, man, I've been doing this as over half my life, man, majority of my life, man, outside of the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I haven't done anything else in my life longer than I've done this game, other than be a human being. Yeah. Other than be a son and a brother and things of that sort. But same, I'm 31, man. I've been dedicated to this game for 25 years, man.
Yeah.
Since I was about 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old, from the moment I was able to start playing competitively all the way through college. And then I went directly in after graduating right into coaching, and haven't looked back since. And so there's an appreciation that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you guys for being able to take a moment to listen to us, man, and hear what we're talking about. This is the X's and O's, man, and we're going to take an intermission, go get us some food, spend some time, talk to some players, kind of off camera, and then we'll be back later on today to finish up the X's and O's. But please stay tuned with us as you guys are kind of seeing where we are now. Again, this is the X's and O's, signing off. BJ Jones, Joshua Sims Sr. We'll see you guys soon.